Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
I said, we really do have a solid and very devoted audience. They always back us up on things like that. It was good to see folks out there. It was good to visit and watch the debate last night with some people. It was I just had a really good time. But looking at the debate, I wanted to spend a few minutes here today talking about my thoughts about it. First of all, I'll get in more of this in a moment, but I mean, when you look at J.D. Vance, you saw a person who was assured of themselves, confident, not cocky, but confident, somebody who came across as, well qualified. And you can tell the man has some intellect for sure. And when you look at Tim Walz, he didn't do as badly as I thought he was going to do, but he clearly had the look of, he was like the deer in the headlights a lot of the time. Just, seemed nervous and twitchy, really twitchy. Just on the way they came across, you have to give this one, I think, to J.D. Vance. But I think overall, there's little doubt. Most everybody who made the assessment said that Vance won the debate hands down. The bad, irretrievably unfixable moment for Tim Walz was when he was asked the question. Now, we'd already been talking about this yesterday afternoon on my show, how there was now some question as to whether or not Tim Walz had been truthful when he said that he was in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square riots in Beijing. And there's pretty good evidence that he wasn't anywhere near Hong Kong. He was back home in Nebraska. There's actually a newspaper story of him doing it. This story broken by, of all people, first of all, the Minneapolis Public Radio, the division of NPR, for goodness sakes. And so I was surprised, but CBS asked about it.
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska.
I'm from the middle class. See, I mean, what he did, he pulled that Kamala Harris stunt. I start talking about yourself. Well, I'm from middle class America.
Town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17.
Has nothing to do with the question.
Worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China.
Dancers?
The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at.
Yeah.
Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times.
I think we can all agree on that.
But it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done.
Relevance, Your Honor?
Working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric.
He's talking a lot. There's no doubt about that. He's just not answering the question.
But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. No. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this is I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests, went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Thank you, Governor.
She finally just stepped in and saved him because it was such an awkward moment. Oh, basically, and if this is the one moment where I thought J.D. Vance missed an opportunity. I really did. It would have been so powerful if he could have turned the opportunity and said, you have a little problem with the truth about your military service, about this, about that, about the other. How will we know when you're telling us the truth? Because sometimes you seem to make stuff up. It would have been just a kill shot, but nonetheless, it didn't work out that way. Waltz also had a weird moment where he was talking about school shootings and gun control and all of that, and he said the following.
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
He's become friends with school shooters. Now, look. You say a lot of words, and sometimes they don't come out right. I think he meant school shooting victims, the families of those who were left behind after a school shooting, but that's not what he said.
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
He's seen it. All right. Then I think for J.D. Vance, the greatest moment, and everybody's been talking about this, is where he fact-checked Margaret Brennan. Now, remember, we told you yesterday, as we were getting this whole thing, getting ready to go into the debate, that the word coming from CBS is that the moderators would not be in the business of fact-checking the candidates, that they would leave it up to the candidates to do that. But, Margaret Brennan she was the queen of sort of backhanded fact-checking. She did it, almost, I would say almost surreptitiously, as she came out of somebody's answer, and J.D. Vance was having absolutely none of it. It all had to do with Springfield, Ohio, and Haitian immigrants, etc.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status. Temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret,
yeah, that was their go-to line. We have so much to get to. I think they said that about 50 times.
I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
Now, this is a dangerous gambit because you don't want to be mansplaining to a couple of women moderators, but nonetheless, he was right to raise the issue.
So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990.
And then they cut the mic. I mean, it was just getting good. I wanted to hear them go after it. But they cut the microphone. Now, I would love to know, I'd like to have a little information about who made the decision to cut the mic. The moderators, obviously, from the set don't have that ability. So it had to be somebody in the control room. And it's, you're never going to leave that decision up to a director or a sound man. There had to be an editorial presence in the control room making that decision. And if I had the ability to ask any question about this whole thing, it'd be, who made that decision? I think it made them look really bad.
It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process.
Thank you so much. Boy, I tell you what, I came away from this thing. I've always really somewhat liked as a somebody who delivers the news. I've always liked Norah O'Donnell. I think she comes across quite well, and I've met her a couple of times, and she seems to be a lovely person. She's actually married. Most people don't know this. She's married to a conservative. His name is Chef Jeff. He runs a bunch of restaurants in D.C. She works in New York, and he works in D.C. and runs a bunch of restaurants. And we actually, when I was at WMAL in Washington, we used to have Chef Jeff on occasionally. He's a sort of a conservative fellow. So I sort of thought, Norah O'Donnell comes across a little better. Margaret Brennan comes across as harsh and completely unlikable. In my estimation. She didn't do herself any good in this debate. She may have been the biggest loser of this whole debate. Then there was, boy, I am so tired of this one. This is where, Tim Walz brought up the issue of Project 2025. Oh, my gosh. If I hear this one more time, I think I'm going to throw up.
Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry of pregnancies. It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get contraception and limit access, if not eliminate access to infertility treatments. For so many of you out there listening, me included, infertility treatments are why I have a child. That's nobody else's business, but those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is, well, the states will decide what's right for Texas might not be right for Washington. That's not how this works. This is basic human right.
What about the basic human rights of the unborn child? Just came into my mind. Project 2025. My Lord, how they love to toss that one around. And there's just nothing to it. I mean, it was a product of a think tank, not a policy statement, not a guide rail or guidepost for how the Trump administration might run its presidency. Not at all. It's just a think tank thinking out loud about, maybe we should. And you know what the thing about think tanks are? And look, there's a lot of think tanks. There's liberal think tanks. There's libertarian think tanks, the Cato Institute. There's all kinds of liberal think tanks. And you know what? They sit around all day and they think of, hey, what about this? And they throw it up there. They throw it up and see if any of it sticks, They run it up the flagpole and see if anybody salutes it. And a lot of times they don't. The problem with think tank is you need somebody at a think tank who'll tell you, that's not a good idea. Now, that one might have some merit, but this one doesn't. Project 2025 was simply a collection of conservatives spitballing. It doesn't mean that that's going to be the policy of the Trump administration. In fact, Donald Trump has said repeatedly, I don't know anything about it, quite frankly. So there you have it, sort of my quick take on everything. The people who study body language gave Vance very high marks, and Tim Walz very low marks, said that Vance looked like the captain of the ship, and they keep talking about how Walz looked nervous and jittery. I completely agree with that. It is 21 past the hour. All right, a question for you. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? You really need to think about this. Hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You may be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. There's no cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
An unwanted guest and now a big police presence here in Middle Tennessee. We'll tell you about it at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That would be Ken Weaver in the newsroom, in the newsroom closet, and there in the control room is Chris Weber. Be pushing all the blinky buttons. Good to have you guys along for the ride today. As always, the team back in its proper place. By the way, we got a couple of comments on the Members Nutrition Super Text line that somebody saw Nora O'Donnell reach up on the table about the time the microphones went off.
Yeah.
And I suspect that there may have been a signal button. Like, we push this button, a little light goes on in the audio booth. I don't think she actually, it would be a union violation for her to shut off the microphones.
You're probably right, wouldn't it?
Those union guys telling you can't touch that button.
That's my job.
But you could push a button that set off a light that then caused the audio guy to mute it, I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. Yeah. Maybe they worked out something in advance.
Too bad he wasn't out smoking.
Yeah, that's right. It was getting good when they shut it.
Oh, yeah, it was, man.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, that's it. That's it for debates. I don't think generally that it moves the needle very much. I mean, these kind of the vice presidential debates, except for some rare moments, have really not been things that move the needle very much. There were, I think I hit all of the high and low points of the whole thing. There wasn't anything where if you were on the bubble about Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, I don't think there was anything that changed your mind. And if you were on the bubble about Donald Trump, I don't think it changed your mind all that much, except to know that he came across as looking quite competent, someone who could easily step up if ever there was a need. So I don't think it's going to have any real impact on the numbers, but nonetheless, it was good entertainment value for a lot of people who follow politics. I really did enjoy visiting with people last night out there. I didn't get to visit as much because somebody has to wear the daddy pants and keep the broadcast going.
Yeah, somebody's got to work.
Somebody's got to work, and boy, as soon as the microphones go off, the social butterflies, Dan Mandus and Matt Murphy's they're out there roaming around, and then I was really surprised because as I was leaving, I run into Ken Weaver. I didn't even know you were there.
I was sitting out on the lawn.
That's right. Yeah, it was a pleasant evening. But I had a truly embarrassing moment before I got to the Hop Springs facility for the show. I needed something to eat for lunch. And so I thought, well, I'll drive on over to Murfreesboro. I'll be in the area. I'll find something quick in Murfreesboro. And so I found a Taco Bell. I said, that's great. I'll have a Taco Bell, be quick and easy, and then I'll get back on down to the live location and get ready. And so I go in and I order up my food, and I'm very picky about some things. I don't like lettuce on my chalupas, or I don't like them on my tacos. I don't like lettuce, and so I was very careful as I was at the touch screen, making my order, and I make sure no lettuce. And then they ask you for your name, your first name, and then your last name initial.
Okay.
So it was Brian W., right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you stand around and wait for somebody to say, Brian, right?
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden this wave of cacophony comes into the Taco Bell. It had to be at least 75 high school kids. I got my order in just in time because it was chaos after I did that. And so I'm sort of standing around, and it's loud and it's noisy, and I hear somebody call what I thought was my name. And so they dropped a bag. I grabbed it. I go sit down. I open it up. I take a bite. I realize, there's lettuce in this. And what? This is chicken. I ordered beef. And then I looked in the rest of the bag, and I realized this is not my order.
You just started chowing down on it.
I chowed down on this big gordita or whatever you call it. And so I go back up, and I say, I think I got somebody else's order, and I've already started eating it. How embarrassing is that, right? So now what's the proper protocol in a situation like this? I don't know what to do. And this guy walks up and says, I think that's mine, but it's okay. And I said, no, dude, I started eating it. You can't take this. So I said, you're going to have to remake his order. I'm sorry about that. And then I grabbed my bag and went and sat down. I felt so bad about the other guy that I went over and gave him $10 and said, here, Lear, lunch is on me. But I mean, how embarrassing.
Eating the man's food.
Eating somebody else's food at the Taco Bell.
I can picture it, man. Because I know you were in a hurry, too.
And by the way, he got my large soda. I ended up with a small soda. I never did take that back. So.
Well, at least you got free refills.
No time for a free refill. I had to go to work. but I just felt maybe I need to check into those hearing aids. I don't know. All right. 30 minutes now past the hour.
3:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. We're monitoring that situation between police and a suspect who barricaded himself in a hotel room on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard in Clarksville. It's at the Country Inn and Suites, where police say they responded to a call this afternoon about an unwanted guest in a room. Police evacuated the adjacent rooms. Negotiators went right to work to try to communicate with this suspect. Right now in Tennessee, the death toll stands at 8 across the easternmost counties impacted by Hurricane Helene. The relief effort still evolving, with Governor Lee saying today his entire cabinet met this morning and they're all in agreement.
This is a survivor-centric effort. that we are making.
Bristol Motor Speedway is allowing TEMA to use its facility as what is called the Northeast Tennessee Disaster Relief Center. This is where all donations for the survivors will go and then be dispersed to a central donation center in each of the counties impacted. As for the 11 workers at Impact Plastics in Unicoi County who have either died or are missing, TBI is investigating after at least one employee says they were not able to leave work in time to get to safety. Elsewhere in Tennessee, closing arguments expected today in Memphis in the federal trial of 3 black police officers accused of beating Tyree Nichols to death last year. Attorneys for the 3 officers rested on Monday, and a judge spent yesterday poring over the jury instructions. And election 2024, Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance isn't wasting any time after last night's debate.
Here's the Donald Trump plan, and here's the Donald Trump message to illegal aliens in this country. In 6 months, pack your bags because you're going home. That's what we're going to do.
J.D. Vance in Auburn Hills, Michigan today. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, the way home getting backed up, especially on the East Loop eastbound, all the way over to the 40-24 split near the airport. And then if you are southbound 65, you're going to find it getting backed up there at 440. Then 440 in between 24 and 65, a lot of brake tapping there going eastbound. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 38 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on this second day of October, and the sun is out, and I like it. What is this strange thing in the sky? It's been a long time since we've seen sunshine, but I'm glad to have it. You know, somehow the yard needs to dry.
Yep.
So where you can mow it.
Yep.
You know, otherwise, you get big clumps of green goo all over your yard. You don't want that.
Stuck all under the lawnmower.
Well, we're still, learning. Boy, the people who are in the middle of this whole area along the East Coast, the eastern portion of the country, where the hurricane went through, they're really struggling. 177 people are now missing. Now dead, and the search for many more continues. Hundreds of people not accounted for. Some of those people will end up on the list of dead, and some will end up being okay. But, you can't get information in and out of some of these areas. Did you see the satellite shot? I mean, there's a satellite shot of the area at night, and you can see right where the hurricane went. Because there's a big swath through the southeast portion of the country where there's just no electricity. And that's how, it is so widespread. The president deploying 1,000 active duty troops to support the North Carolina National Guard. 1.2 million customers still without power in some of the southern states. The hardest hit states are South Carolina. There you have about 500,000 customers without power. North Carolina with over 343,000 customers without power. Georgia has 354,000 customers without power. And, the easy ones are up. They work and they get the easy stuff first, but you got to rebuild the basic part of the grid, which may take a while. Some of these people may not see electricity for weeks. That's really true. Outages in Florida, 40,000. Virginia, 40,000. West Virginia, some 13,300. So that's not going to be good for those folks for some time. And unbelievably here now, how many days are we're past? We see this thing hit like on Friday in a big way. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is Tuesday, Wednesday. We're now talking 6 days, and there are still people who say we don't have water. I read just a compelling post on Facebook today about somebody who's in the region. They've been able to get their cell phone working again, but they don't have any electricity. And what they said was, we're about to run out of water not only for us but for our animals, the horses. The horses need water as well. So this is a bad storm. It's going to take a long time. In eastern Tennessee. They say that there are 9 dead and 23 missing. These numbers are fluid. They're all over the place. But, every time you see a headline, and by the time the headline gets written, there's an update that changes the number. But that's a ballpark of where we are. Much has been said about this impact plastics plant in Unicoi County. And this is how it was reported by WVLT. Sadly, the people at the plant would not let the workers go home. And when they finally said, yeah, you can go, it was too late. And some workers got washed away in all of this. Our thanks to WVLT for this report.
The road to the plastics plant is closed, but we did talk to an employee who says he was swept away by the floodwaters. He was able to make it to the top of a semi-truck to get to higher ground. He believes, though, that this all could have been prevented if the company acted sooner. This was the moment Jacob Ingram was rescued by a helicopter, waiting as others were hoisted up.
Only 5 of us made it.
He says he was with coworkers from Impact Plastics Friday. They'd have been at the factory that day when Hurricane Helene floodwaters came through.
I actually asked one of the higher-ups, and they told me no, not yet, that they had to ask someone before we was able to leave, even though it was already above the doors and the cars and everything else.
At least 2 employees were killed. Another 6 and a contractor are still missing, according to Impact Plastics. So the company had released a statement saying that employees were dismissed when water covered the parking lot and adjacent road and the plant lost power.
No, the plant lost power, and we were still told not to go home or nothing. We were still there for about 15 to 20 minutes after the plant lost power.
Ingram believes those 20 minutes could have saved lives. Impact Plastics says most employees left immediately, but some remained on or near the premises for unknown reasons. So you're saying you're one of the last people that saw them?
She smiled right at me.
The owner of a nearby manufacturing facility
Been rescuing people, man. They've all come down here.
Went to Impact Plastics to help get more workers out after he'd already sent his home.
I was there yelling at them to come. She was talking to her boss.
Have you heard anything from the company, from management since?
No, I haven't heard a thing. They have not reached out, none of us survivors, to make sure we're okay, nothing.
The company says it's organizing a recovery center for employees. In the meantime, Ingram and others who've lost jobs stood in line at Irwin Town Hall Tuesday to get help with unemployment. Impact Plastics says that senior management was the last to leave the factory and that they sought emergency responders to help those left behind. Casey?
Wow. Listen to some of these stories. Bertha Mendoza made a final call to her husband of 38 years as raging Hurricane Helene floodwaters trapped her and others at a Tennessee plastics plant. Workers have said they were allowed to leave when water was already swamping its parking lot in Irwin on Friday. In a call to her husband, Elias Mendoza, Bertha, age 56, said she loved him. Her son, Guillermo Mendoza, told NBC News she asked him also to tell her children that she loved him. Those were her last words, said a tearful Mendoza, a minister at First Baptist Church of Irwin. He confirmed her body had been found on Saturday. Robbie Jarvis, a plant worker, said employees were all in panic mode because the water came up so fast and we had nowhere to go. We had nowhere to go. We didn't have a clue. I lost 6 good friends, co-workers. We were family. We all joked, and all day long I spent more time with them than anybody else in my family, Jarvis said in an interview. For Guadalupe Hernandez, she says her sister Monica Hernandez went to work on Friday morning as usual. She then received a call from Monica at about 10:30 a.m. saying she was in the factory and it was starting to flood. During the call, she said goodbye to her children in case she couldn't be saved. The water started to get in, and the only thing she told me was she was standing on top of her van, and then she had to get on top of a trailer. That's the last thing she told me. Monica was working with Rosa Maria Andrade, who is also missing. Her brother-in-law says there were a group of them waiting for rescue. At the time, Unicoi County said they had limited resources and were being overrun with emergency calls. We believe the rescue teams were more focused on the hospital that was nearby. They did try to rescue the group where she was, but only 2 were saved. There have been no sign of these women since Friday. All of the families have been looking for them. We could not find them. We checked the 2 big hospitals. They didn't have any answers for us. They were told by police it would take 3 to 4 days to identify the bodies they'd found using dental records. The families say they will wait until there is more to learn. TBI conducting an investigation into all of this, according to the Tennessean. This was, I mean, boy, talk about a bad situation. TBI spokesman confirmed that District Attorney Steve Finney requested a TBI investigation of the business. The business, through a spokesperson, declined to offer details about the investigation. Finney released a statement saying, early yesterday morning, I spoke to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and requested they look into allegations involving Impact Plastics in Unicoi County. Specifically, I asked they review the occurrences of Friday, September 27th, 2024, to identify any potential criminal violations. And many employees who did survive have told Knox News that the managers wouldn't let employees leave, and other employees have repeated the claim. They told them to go move your car, move it away from the rising water. See, the river runs right by this plant. And the water is coming and say, go move your car and come back. No, you can't go home. They should have evacuated when we got the flash flood warnings and when they saw the parking lot. When we moved our cars, then we should have evacuated then. We asked them if we should evacuate, and they told us not yet. It wasn't bad enough. And by the time it was bad enough, it was too late, unless you had a four-wheel drive. The company, in a written statement, has denied the allegations that management forced anyone to continue working as waters rose outside. Well, we have several people who are telling a very different story. The statement said, while most employees left immediately, some remained on premise. Tony Treadway, a spokesman for the company, told Knox News that the TBI had not contacted them. He said the company is conducting its own internal review of activities and timelines for that day, and the company would share the information when the review is complete. Yeah, I think you're probably going to get your best information from the workers who survived. I mean, some of these people were clinging to the top of a semi-flatbed filled with plastic pipe while the water was rushing. They were clinging, and then apparently the water got too high, and it rolled the semi over on its side, and the whole load broke loose, and they went downriver. Some didn't apparently know how to swim, and some were able to, find something to cling on as they flowed downriver, and they were able to be rescued later. What a disaster! Look, I don't know. I wasn't there, but I'll just say this. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you think your life is in danger, but the boss says you can't leave, leave.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Live to fight another day. You say, well, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. Well, your job, lose your job, you lose your life. I do understand it, when you need that job and you, well, I don't want to get fired. I got to pay my bills. I got to put food on the table. Well, you're not going to put any food on the table if you're dead. So, make that call, and then work it out later. I have a feeling that if those people had left when they said, screw this, I'm leaving, when they moved their cars, I'm just getting out of here, there wouldn't have been any repercussions long term, given how bad it got. But, you don't know what you don't know at the time. What a tragic thing that is. What a tragic thing it is. 50 minutes now past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
An unwanted guest in a hotel room, and it has prompted a police response here in Middle Tennessee. Tennessee hurricane response update, port strike, and when it might affect you, and the vice presidential candidates on the campaign trail after debating last night. All that and more at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, taking a look at the markets now. Dow Jones Industrial averages up 39. That's just a little bit. S&P up just a little bit as well, less than a point. NASDAQ about 14 points. So green, but not by much. What's driving the markets today? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management for more on that. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, not a lot of movement in the market. Actually had some good information come out today, but it's really been overshadowed as the market's it's pretty nervous about what's happening in the Middle East between Iran and Israel, waiting to see if that escalates. You've seen that in the prices of crude oil as there's a concern about potential supply disruptions. What came out today that was actually really good was an ADP jobs report. Actually beat expectations. The expectation was about 122,000 jobs. 143,000 was what the report said. Now, that may put a little damper on a higher interest rate cut from the Fed, so the market doesn't really like that. And, of course, we're not hearing a whole lot about the port strike. That could add into this. But a lot of uncertainty. The market doesn't like that. Tomorrow we get factory reports and an additional payroll report that's a big report on Friday.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Find out all the things that John Maxon and the good people at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 58 minutes past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Four o'clock on the dot this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now, we are monitoring what was reported to be a big police presence in Clarksville. A suspect barricaded inside a hotel on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Authorities trying to negotiate a peaceful resolution. A perimeter had been established around the Country Inn and Suites in the 3000 block of Wilma Rudolph Boulevard after a call around 1:16 today, when someone told police about an unwanted guest in one of the rooms there. That person barricaded themselves inside the room. Crisis negotiators went to work trying to speak with him after the adjacent rooms were evacuated. Tennessee Hurricane Helene response update. The death toll stands at least 8 across some of the easternmost counties impacted. Search and rescues for the missing continue. And during today's briefing, Governor Lee stepped in after TEMA Director Patrick Sheehan became emotional when speaking on it.
Patrick expresses what we all feel. And when you're there and you see these families and you see the tears and you see the heartache of what has unfolded on the ground there, you become even more committed.
Yeah, so today, survivors who may have made it back to their properties to retrieve things were provided with a 1-800 number to call for assistance and proper attire, since floodwaters can be toxic. Well, it's day 2 of a port strike along the eastern seaboard and Gulf Coast. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg telling ABC News White House officials talking to both sides to try to iron out a deal before any potential effects are felt by consumers.
There's nothing that's going to change for you at the grocery store tomorrow because of a 1 or 2 or 3 day disruption. But the longer this goes on, the more you're going to see those ripple effects, which is why we're really urging the parties to solve this.
Yeah, striking dock workers are demanding a new contract with a significant wage increase, as well as guarantees their jobs won't be eliminated due to automation. Election 2024, Stephen Portnoy says the vice presidential candidates hit the campaign trail after their debate last night.
In Auburn Hills, Michigan, J.D. Vance said he thought the debate went pretty well. Vance said he feels bad for Tim Walz.
And the reason I feel bad for him is because he has to defend the indefensible, and that is the record of Kamala Harris.
Earlier, the Harris campaign released an ad highlighting this moment in the debate in which Walz asked his opponent about Donald Trump.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
Walz called Vance's response a damning non-answer.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Right now, the slowest go is going to be eastbound there between 65 and 24 if you're 440. And it's really backing up as you are eastbound 40 there from downtown over to the 40-24 split. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock, second hour of The Drive on October 2nd. With beautiful afternoon developing. The sun has finally come out and temperatures are in the mid-70s. That's good. We need to dry out a little bit. My lawn is just way out of control. I don't know about yours, but we got to get some grass dry before we can mow it. Nothing worse than trying to mow wet grass.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It clogs up the machinery and it just clunks up everything. Yeah. And then at the end of it, you look back at your yard and you say, well, it'd be pretty good if it wasn't all that clumped up grass, wet grass all over the place.
Looks like you need to mow it again.
Yeah, I know. Well, anyway, I'm glad it's going to right. Tomorrow morning, if all things are going well, I'm going to mow.
Look out for them yellow jackets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? There was a story about this. And, of course, I passed it on to Cabana Wife, given her recent experience with Yellow Jackets. She was not amused. She says, you're telling me something I already know.
Yeah, unfortunately, painfully, she knows.
Yeah, she's been stung now four times.
And it's all your fault.
And it's my fault. I mean, part of it is not the last bout, because I worked on it. But the problem is, in case you don't know, Yellow Jackets, they nest in the ground.
Yep.
And with all the wetness, some of them have been washed out, and they're angry about it.
I don't like it.
They're not happy. And Yellow Jackets are aggressive anyway, but they're especially aggressive as the weather gets cooler. And now they've been washed out of their homes, have no place to go. Mm. I think Yellow Jackets feel like they're mostly misunderstood, but
yeah, they're complicated.
They're complicated. That's right.
You don't know what it's like to be a Yellow Jacket.
That's right. I mean, how would you feel like if people have been trying to poison you and then wash you out?
Yeah.
And then at night it's just cold because you have no place to go. That's what it is to be a Yellow Jacket. Let's have a little sympathy for the Yellow Jackets.
Terrible.
All right. Well, we got way off target on that one. I want to do a 2024 update. Now, we already did the debate and how that all went. And if you missed that at the top of the 3 o'clock hour, I'll do it again at 5. Go through with my thoughts about it. But there's other 2024 news that we need to get you up to speed on. Now, this is just breaking. A federal judge on Wednesday unsealed a redacted motion by special counsel Jack Smith detailing evidence against former President Donald Trump in the criminal election interference case in Washington, D.C. Now, I got to tell you, I read through this, and there's some sensational stuff that's in here. But I got to tell you, honestly, there's no case. Stuff that sounds pretty damning, but there's no case. He doesn't ever have a case. And, there was some real question about whether or not he could bring a case at all because he says he has presidential immunity for official acts. What this is Jack Smith frustrated that he can't bring his case before the election, trying to do damage to the Trump campaign with this 165-page document that was unsealed today by Judge Tanya Chutkan. It is unsealed less than 5 weeks before the election day. And so I'm just going to give, because you're going to hear about this, let me give you what it says. The defendant asserts he's immune from prosecution for his criminal scheme to overturn the 2020 presidential election because he claims it entailed official conduct. Not so. And then the motion goes on to say that Trump claimed fraud without proof. Well, he claimed it's what he believed. And you know what? Looking back at some of the things, I can understand why he might have believed that. There were some things that have been pretty questionable. The thing about these cases are that they're incredibly difficult to prove and incredibly difficult to prove in the very narrow window that you have between Election Day and the day that the votes are confirmed by the Congress on January 6th. It's just a very, very tight window. No time to bring a complicated case. And, once it's done, right? That's the way I've always looked at it. But then it goes on to quote extensively, not Trump, but an unidentified campaign employee that Jack Smith identifies as a campaign employee and quote-unquote co-conspirator. Well, Trump is not responsible for the actions of others. And they go on to quote the co-conspirator about saying that when a colleague suggested that there was going to be unrest during the Florida vote count, we talked about reminiscent of the Brooks Brothers riot during the Florida vote count in the 2000 election, the campaign employee responded, "Make them riot, do it." Well, okay, that's not Trump. Again, this is an attempt by special counsel Jack Smith to have an impact on the election because he's frustrated that he's been thwarted from bringing the case before Election Day. So he's throwing everything he's got out there in the form of this 165-page document, which is, I think, completely inappropriate for it to be unfiled, to be filed and released to the public by Judge Tanya Chutkan. So you're going to hear more about that. I look in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really reveals all that much. Seems pretty weak sauce to me, but we'll see what happens. Trump rejects call for another debate as 880,000 early votes have already been cast. Former President Donald Trump reaffirmed on social media he will not partake in any more debates ahead of the November election because votes are already being cast. Hard to believe that, almost 900,000 votes have already been cast in this election that's still some 34 days away. Former president's remarks came after J.D. Vance and Tim Walz held their first and only vice presidential debate. It's 5 weeks before the election day, and millions of voters can now cast early ballots. But again, the people over at the Harris campaign are agitating for another debate. It ain't going to happen. The RNC announces even more election integrity wins ahead of the November election. The RNC's been getting it done in this regard, trying to make sure as much as possible that things are on the up and up. The RNC, according to townhall.com, ramping up election integrity wins as we get closer to the November elections. Early voting has already started in key swing states. On Monday, the RNC announced victories from last Friday in Michigan and North Carolina. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson last month, the RNC sued her over a failure to require verification of absentee ballots. In response to our lawsuit, Secretary Benson has updated her guidance to require proof that signatures have been verified before ballots are counted. Monday's announcement from the RNC noted. Big win. Big win in a very, very important battleground state. The RNC also sued the North Carolina State Board of Elections last month for the fourth time. In this instance, an appeals court blocked the use of digital student IDs as a valid form of identification, which the North Carolina State Board of Elections had unlawfully allowed for. RNC keeping people honest here. Voter ID and signature verifications are important safeguards to prevent cheating and fraud. These critical election integrity victories will help voters cast their ballots with confidence. Michigan and North Carolina can decide this election, and we are committed to holding election officials accountable and ensuring the law is followed, says RNC Chairman Michael Whatley in a statement. Both states critical. Michiganders also voting in a very close U.S. Senate race to see who will fill the job held right now by Debbie Stabenow. So good on the RNC for getting out there and fighting these battles to keep all of these election processes as clean as they possibly can. Speaking of which, a large-scale voter registration glitch saw almost 100,000 people in Arizona included on voter rolls without providing their proof of citizenship. This, according to WokeSpy.com, the Washington Post obtained audio of a phone call between Governor Katie Hobbs, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, and Attorney General Chris Mays. Attorney General Mays called it an urgent, dire situation and expressed concern that they would be accused of trying to rig the 2024 election. When this goes public, it's going to have all of the conspiracy theorists in the globe and the world coming back to relitigate the past 3 elections, at least in Arizona. And it's going to validate all of their theories about illegal voting in our elections, even though we know that's not true, said Hobbs, the Secretary of State. Phone call took place on the 10th of September. At the time, it was believed that 150,000 voters had been affected. However, it was later revised downward to 100,000. The biggest proportion of voters affected were Republicans. During the 40-minute call, the 3 officials engaged in a desperate debate over how to respond to the problem without disqualifying citizens who were eligible to vote. During the conversation, Vance says they're going to beat us up no matter what the hell we do, no matter what the hell we say. During the election of 2020, Arizona was the second closest state with Biden, carrying the state by around 11,000 votes, or about 0.3%. So, very interesting conversation there, now being revealed by, of all sources, the Washington Post. This story from justthenews.com. Boy, I tell you, more and more I love the reporting at justthenews.com. Election results likely to be delayed nationwide by state rules, litigation, and investigation. I've been saying this for a while now. I think it's true. Counting or certification of the November election results are likely to be delayed nationwide as states are promulgating different rules on receiving mail ballots, ongoing and likely election litigation, and possible investigations over irregularities, warns an election integrity proponent. As the 2020 election results were delayed until Joe Biden was announced the winner on the presidential race the Saturday after the election, there will likely also be a delay in announcing this year's presidential contest. The delays this year could be the result of a variety of factors, especially with such a close election, according to Honest Elections Project Executive Director Jason Sneed. Almost every credible poll indicates the November election will be tight. I agree. As Vice President Kamala Harris does not have a significant lead over former President Donald Trump, particularly in critical swing states upon which the Electoral College may turn. The real clear polling average shows Harris just 2 points ahead of Trump in the general election numbers, and the vice president at 49.3, and the former president at 47.3. The close race will take time to call, especially with several states allowing ballots to be counted days after the election. The states and U.S. cities that accept ballots after Election Day are Alaska, California, the District of Columbia, Illinois, Kansas, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Washington, and West Virginia. So if it's really, really close and you got to wait for those ballots to come in on the mail, I don't like it. The thing is that most of those states are blue states. Not all. Texas, Utah, and Ohio are not, for sure. But most of the others are blue states. You know, and that's not going to really impact the Electoral College. Of those states, I don't see one that would be a battleground state. But nonetheless, it could, if it's really close, we could be waiting, for example, on Virginia. Maybe. The states with the latest deadlines for accepting ballots after Election Day are Illinois and Utah. We know how Utah is going to go. Pretty sure we know how Illinois is going to go. But they can still accept ballots 14 days after Election Day. Detroit's August primary election results were delayed because of a faulty firewall, causing election workers to drive the results across Wayne County, in which the city is located. The firewall issues prevented local clerks from electronically submitting the results, so the clerks had to physically transport the result to downtown Detroit. Yeah, if something like that happens on election night, I hope they have a chopper in the sky to follow the car. So, again, what I would say to you is, don't expect that we're going to have the answers on election night or the day after or the day after or maybe the day after. I think it's going to be so close that that we probably will not have definitive answers, and lawyers will be involved. Sadly, it's 22 past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
An unwanted guest prompts a large police presence. We'll tell you about it at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 26 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk. Glad you're with us on this Wednesday. Let's get you home safely. Enjoy the lovely weather that we're having. I mean, really, honestly. Sunshine 74. I'm ready. I needed to dry. I mean, as much as we went through that long dry spell, and then we went through a long wet spell, I sort of feel like I'm ready to dry out now.
Yeah. Feels good.
Yeah, it does feel good. When sunshine on your shoulders makes you happy. WKRN has an interesting story here based on crime statistics in the city of Nashville, Davidson County. Troubling number here. Homicides down slightly, down about 2.6% below what they were this time last year. But there is a very troubling crime statistic. Apparently, rape appears to be up nearly 25% compared to the end of September last year, with close to 500 complaints filed in Nashville and the Davidson County area. Some say, well, it's hard to know because it could be that more people are just reporting. We've always had the problem, but now they're just reporting it because, rape is often underreported crime. Still, that is a very concerning number. But as you dig deep down into the story, you find out that, quite frankly, things are troubling in a lot of different ways. 74 murders reported into this so far in 2024. Last year, at this point, 76 had been reported. So for all practical purposes, pretty much on track with what happened last year. 22 of the homicides occurred in August and September, which indicates that maybe there's an uptick. Generally, August, hot and summer months are a time when murders tend to go up. I don't know why. It's always been the way. Let's see. Got the rape story. Aggravated assault seems to be down, but not by much. Robbery has dropped about 8.1%. Property crime in Nashville and Davidson County has increased by about 4.5%. A rise that has been driven by an increase in auto theft. Burglary. Preliminary reports show about a 3.2% increase in burglary compared to this time last year. Residential burglary up about 3.7% countywide. Larceny has increased about 18.6%. This includes like bicycle theft, motor vehicle parts and accessories. I'll read that to be those catalytic converters. Shoplifting or pickpocketing. I guess the pickpocketers are going crazy. Auto theft has been the fastest rising crimes in Nashville and for much of 2024. If you had to make a guess, how many cars do you think have been stolen in Davidson County this year so far?
500.
No. 3,865. 6% increase. Auto theft continues to be a real problem in this area. And sadly, when you steal a car, most everybody has got a gun in the car. And so you lose the gun as well. So it's sort of a crime that has it's a two-edged sword. You lose the car, and then a gun goes out into the general population because most people don't lock their guns up. All right, 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. And right now in Middle Tennessee, we're still monitoring that police situation in Clarksville, reported to be a suspect. A suspect barricaded himself in a room at the Country Inn and Suites on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Tennessee hurricane response, the death toll climbing to at least 8 across some of the easternmost counties impacted. The effort to get survivors, especially those who are cut off, continues to evolve. That is, to get to survivors. TEMA Director Patrick Sheehan told today's briefing they're partnering with Bristol Motor Speedway for what will be called the Northeast Tennessee Disaster Relief Center. And it's day 2 of a port strike along the eastern seaboard and Gulf Coast. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg telling ABC News White House officials talking to both sides to try to iron out a deal before any potential effects are felt by consumers.
Cargo owners we've talked to, the retailers, the stores, they have been taking steps because for months it's been known that this could become an issue. Many of them stocked some of their goods for the holidays earlier in the year than they normally would.
Money News, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks level off after an up and down day on Wall Street. The Dow added 40 points. The NASDAQ gained 15. The S&P barely changed. Investors were encouraged by an ADP research report that found private sector employers sped up hiring in September. The Labor Department's September employment report comes out Friday. Oil prices rose again because of the Middle East tensions. Humana stock dropped 12% after the insurer's Medicare plan rating plummeted. The company is challenging the rating. Homeland Security says it'll ban the import of goods from a Chinese steel manufacturer and a maker of artificial sweetener over allegations of forced labor. Chrysler is recalling up to 154,000 vehicles because the high-voltage battery may fail, resulting in a fire. Drivers of certain Jeep plug-in hybrids are being advised not to recharge and to park outside.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Belmont, 440 westbound at Hillsborough Pike and 21st Avenue, you have a crash. And then 65 northbound right there at Wedgwood Avenue, causing a delay as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let me tell you about the folks over at Busy Bee. Busy Bee, when you need heat or cold AC, you know the number, 615-775-7833. Now, it is October, the spooky season. Don't get tricked. Let Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner, treat your family. See what they did there? That's great. If you think you have the scariest furnace, tag Busy Bee with your scary furnace picture on any of the social media platforms for a chance to win a date night on them. 2 tickets to see the Predators play, dinner for 2. Winner announced November 1st. How about a free Beehive membership? All you have to do is carve a pumpkin of Buzz the Bee. Buzz the Bee is their mascot. And tag Busy Bee on any of the social media platforms. By the way, still, you want to think about being a Beehive member. For that, you'll receive 3 annual tune-ups, 1 on your cooling, 1 on your heating, 1 on your plumbing, 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service, $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a $1,000 max, and no overtime or holiday fees ever, all for as little as $99 a month, or $99 period, and you're covered for a year. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 775-7833, or visit busybeehvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
38 past the hour. Brian Wilson in the chair, on the air, all the way till 7 o'clock tonight, bringing you news and information you can use. We like to make sure that you're well informed, so when you get home, you can walk in the door and spout off some kind of impressive knowledge that you learned on this program. I mean, you know, tell them what kind of things you could learn.
Hey, honey, did you hear? Brian ate someone else's Taco Bell order.
I feel bad about that. I hope that guy will forgive me. I didn't mean to eat his Taco Bell order. There was a horrible at-the-counter misunderstanding.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Hey, you made it right. You paid for his lunch, so I think you'll be fine.
Think about the pain and suffering that I had to endure in that, you know how I feel about lettuce.
You eat salad. What's the problem?
Not really. I don't like salad all that much. I eat it because, Cabana wife says, roughage. You need roughage. And so I eat it, but I'm not big on salad.
It doesn't have any taste.
And I don't
it's
like
not going to hurt anything.
It's a texture thing. I don't like lettuce in my Mexican food. It ought not be allowed. And so, I didn't mean to eat the guy's chalupa. I bit into it and I realized there's lettuce in this. And I never order lettuce in my chalupa. And so, and so I realized I was eating another guy's order.
Yeah. But to be fair, they all do kind of look the same,
Well, yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, not a whole
what's
lot
the
of
difference between a burrito and a chalupa?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure I know the technical definition. I'm not sure I could explain that to you. But I feel bad about it, so I bought the guy's lunch.
That's nice of you, brother Brian.
He still got the larger soda because he ordered a regular size soda and I got it.
You didn't need the large one anyway.
I ordered a large Dr. Pepper and he got that.
He probably didn't even like Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I feel bad about it. I hope that if he's listening, he says, "Oh, you were the guy, huh?" He was very cool about it. I would not have been as nice. I probably said, "What? You ate my lunch?" But no, he was very nice. He said, "Oh, it's okay, man. It was an honest mistake."
He should have done is he should have grabbed yours and just taken a bite out of yours.
It's never even.
And then you just traded and said, "All right, it's all good."
Well, the people who really lost out in that were the people at Taco Bell because they had to make his lunch over. They lost a sale there. But anyway, it is so easy in the cacophony of a busy Taco Bell with 75 high schoolers all in there making a bunch of racket. And maybe my hearing is not as acute as it once was. I don't know. That could have been a factor as well. I thought they said it was my order.
It was a madhouse, baby.
It was a madhouse. It was. Oh, I feel bad about it. I feel really bad about eating somebody else's lunch. But anyway,
what about somebody else's apple fritter?
Oh, you had to bring that up.
There's a pattern here. I didn't realize that.
The one thing that I want to get past is the unfortunate apple fritter incident with Cabana Wife. And you won't let it go, Ken. You just won't let it go.
Well, somebody's got to advocate on the part of Cabana Wife.
Oh, she does fine. Don't you worry. She advocates just fine.
The lesson here seems to be don't leave food laying around if Brian's around. Because he will eat it.
Oh.
It will not go to waste.
Yeah, listen.
Unless it has lettuce on it.
Yeah, then I won't eat it. I won't eat it. Thank goodness there is no lettuce in an apple fritter. That's all I'm saying. The apple fritter thing, the debacle of the apple fritter, I will never live it down. Let me try to turn to some serious news here. After that frivolity, I don't know that it's even going to be possible. Oh, hold it. She's texting. She said, "Thank you, Ken."
You're welcome.
All right. We actually do cover serious news here, and I need to sober up here for a moment and talk about some things that are very serious. If you were with us yesterday, you know that just about the time we were hitting air, we were just learning the details of a massive ballistic missile attack from Iran against Israel. 200 ballistic missiles were fired. And it's really remarkable. They have layers of different systems to protect Israel. They've got some that we provided, some that they've developed, the Iron Dome. They call one of them David's Sling. They got another. There's 3 or 4 of them they got. And then remember, we have ships out in the ocean, and we have the ability to intercept these ballistic missiles as well. And so 200 were fired, and maybe 2 or 3 got through. But nobody was killed, and the ones that fell, apparently these systems, really quite impressive, have the ability to sort of estimate where the trajectory of the ballistic missile, where it's likely to land, and if one is headed out into the middle of nowhere, they don't bother with it. They let it go through because they want to prioritize on the ones that are headed to military installations or populated areas, etc. Nobody was hurt. 200, big ballistic missiles fired. From the time they're launched in Iran, they land in Israel 12 minutes later. So there's not a lot of time to sort of, pick and choose and decide which ones you're going to take out. But between the Israelis and the United States military, which assisted them, they took out almost all of these ballistic missiles, which says to me that Israel is going to be really hard to attack if you're Iran. But I'm not sure that Iran would be that protected if Israel were to launch attack against Iran in response to all this. And so the question is, what kind of response are we going to have here? What's going to happen? Is Israel going to attack directly Iran? That could widen the conflict in a big way. Everybody agrees, I think mostly, the president and the G7, a group of 7 leaders around the globe, they all believe that indeed Iran has the right to respond and to do something in retaliation for the attack. Benjamin Netanyahu said, I have the exact quote here, Iran made a big mistake and will pay for it. So that means that the missile attack, there'll be some kind of response. What kind of response? If they could go after economic targets, which would jack up the price of oil around the world, and that's probably not something the United States wants, but they could go after, for example, the oil refineries that Iran has on the coastal areas. They could go after military targets, and the question is, would they dare try to take out Iran's and weaken Iran's nuclear capability? They have a refinery where they're refining nuclear material for bombs, and many people think they're very close to making a bomb, a nuclear bomb, which would be a bad thing. So Israel might look at this as an opportunity to go in and try to degrade their nuclear capability or their ability to develop nuclear weapons. The president of the United States was asked today, as he was getting ready to board on Air Force One, if he felt like that was something that the United States would support. And he said no.
The answer is no. I think there's things we'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all 7 of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in the course.
So he says, they have the right to respond, but I would not be in favor of them going after the nuclear program. One wonders why. Why not? Somebody needs to do that. An Iran with a nuclear weapon is not something would be in our best interest at all. So I don't know what's going to happen, but they're very likely to respond in a very significant way. Unlike with Iran's last missile attack, Israel doesn't need to fear that a strike against Iran would spark a major clash with Hezbollah. Part of the thing that Israel always had to be concerned is if you attack Iran, then they would tell their proxies, well, you start launching missiles into Israel. And, then you have Hamas from the south, Hezbollah from the north, the Houthi rebels who are based down in Yemen, they could take the opportunity to attack on behalf of Iran. But let's just look at where we are. Hamas, it doesn't really exist very much anymore. They've been destroyed. Hezbollah, currently, Israel is engaged in a ground effort in Lebanon to take out Hezbollah and to weaken them. So they're sort of, running for the hills right now. Hezbollah is, and just recently, the other day, Israel launched a major attack against the Houthi rebels all the way down in Yemen, which was quite a military undertaking, quite a distance from Israel, but nonetheless, they did it. Suggesting that it was a demonstration that Israel can launch a long-range attack against its enemies. The next enemy that they may launch a long-range attack against would be Iran. So, not exactly sure how Israel will respond to this attack. And here's what I'm thinking. I mean, there's two things. If they just have to make a response in order to say, well, you can't do that to us. You can't launch 200 ballistic missiles in our direction and expect us to do nothing. And they might just do something that has a limited impact on Iran in order to not cause a larger conflict with Iran. Or they might say, it's now or never. We've got Hamas degraded. We've got Hezbollah engaged. We just degraded the ability of the Houthi rebels. If not now, when would be a good time for us to take out their nuclear? Because Israel understands that it will never be safe the moment that Iran gets a nuclear weapon. They will never be safe. So we watch and wait to see exactly what will happen. Meanwhile, Israel's saying that the operations on the ground in Lebanon are limited and localized, but those who are on the ground suggest that maybe it's a bit more than that. So we'll continue to watch that. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Let me tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you've been listening for a while, you know that I trust those folks over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you're having back or knee pain, give them a call today at 615-246-5009 to get the help that you need. Now, I want to mention that they've got a concert. They were going to do it on Friday the 27th, but it got rained out because of the hurricane that came through. So they have rescheduled it for October 11th at 6:30. The Wellness Institute of Nashville throwing a community party in their backyard at the Charlie Daniels Park in Mount Juliet. The event is free. You'll hear from Brian White and Colin Ray performing a live concert set, and Colin Ray revealing a brand new song for this event. This is all to honor local police officers, firefighters, first responders, and veterans. So they say, bring your lawn chairs, blankets, and get ready to party at the biggest community event Mount Juliet has ever hosted. Again, now rescheduled for October 11th at 6:30 p.m. The Love Our City concert, sponsored by Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley of the Wellness Institute of Nashville.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
More people are speaking out about the workers missing in East Tennessee's hurricane-ravaged counties. And when might that port strike start impacting you at the grocery store? Coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, you have about a minute here very quickly to remind you that now that the vice presidential debate is over, we are now focusing on election night, and we've got a spectacular thing going election night. Hope that you'll join us. The election party will be free to attend for all ages, with food and beverages available on site to actually purchase. So join us live in Lebanon for an election night in the USA. Special thanks to Busy Bee, HVAC, and the Glock store. For sponsorship opportunities to purchase special VIP tickets, visit 997WTN.com. We hope to see you there. Listen, we're going to be at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. The big Wilson Center there.
The James E. Ward Agriculture
James E. Ward,
Center,
which means hop and a skip for this boy.
Yeah, nice.
It'd be right up the road from Watertown. So, no, that's going to be a good... It's a big facility, and if you want to hang out on election night, we'd love to have you join us. Let's call it 58 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And we've got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Right now, TBI is investigating after at least one worker at a plastics plant in East Tennessee claims workers were not allowed to leave in time to safely escape Hurricane Helene's flood. 29-year-old Rosa Andrade is one of the workers missing from Impact Plastics. Channel 4 says her cousin told them they last heard from her in a phone call on Friday.
She just said that when they let them out, it was already too late because cars were moving away with the water. Her car, my aunt said that she was crying, my car is just going away with the water. And that's where she just lost it.
Impact Plastics says it will fully cooperate with the TBI investigation and added that they're conducting their own investigation. And this is the fifth day of disaster response in East Tennessee. TEMA Director Patrick Sheehan told today's briefing utility crews have cut the number of power outages to 1,400 as of today, but communicating is still challenging.
There are still lots of problems with cell phone communications in Verizon
especially in Carter County, and we're working with Verizon and AT&T to provide solutions. And as the governor talked about, Elon Musk and Starlink are providing things in addition to what we've already purchased to augment that communications capability.
More than 600 structures are damaged or destroyed. And it is day 2 of a port strike along the eastern seaboard and Gulf Coast. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg telling ABC News that White House officials are talking to both sides to try to iron out a deal soon before any potential effects are felt by consumers.
There's nothing that's going to change for you at the grocery store tomorrow because of a 1 or 2 or 3 day disruption. But the longer this goes on, the more you're going to see those ripple effects, which is why we're really urging the parties to solve this.
Striking dock workers demanding a new contract with a significant wage increase, as well as guarantees that their jobs won't be eliminated due to automation. A new filing by prosecutors in the federal January 6th case. It is the latest effort to try to convince Judge Tanya Chutkan that former President Trump does not deserve to be covered by presidential immunity for the charges he faces.
In their 165-page partially redacted filing, prosecutors say Trump and his allies spread lies, making dozens of false but specific claims of fraud that amounted to, quote, unsupported, objectively unreasonable, and ever-changing claims. Pieces of evidence mentioned in the filing include the handwritten notes of then Vice President Pence, which have Trump telling him, quote, when there's fraud, the rules get changed. Bottom line, won every state by hundreds of thousands of votes.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, looking over here, 440 westbound, just east of 40, you've got the left lane blocked. Several cars have had what appears to be a fender bender there. And, of course, it is slow all over the downtown loop. It is especially slow, the eastbound east loop and then going eastbound south loop. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, good evening. Good afternoon. It's not evening yet. We're going to still stick with the afternoon. 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, about 7 minutes past the hour. I am your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson. This is hour number 3 of The Drive for this very delightful fall day, Wednesday, October 2nd. Get you home safely. And while we're doing that, we're going to give you some news and information. I guess I want to do this again because we did it in the 3 o'clock hour, but a lot of people, they get into the car at different times. They didn't get the benefit of my shrewd analysis of last night's vice presidential debate. So we'll do it again. How's that? Okay. It was, of course, J.D. Vance, running mate for Donald Trump, versus Tim Walz, running mate with Kamala Harris. And look, almost everybody who looked at this, even the very slanted critics at the New York Times, decided that J.D. Vance had won this. If the left-leaning lunatics who write for the New York Times believe that J.D. Vance won this thing, and I think you could say he won it, majority of them said he was a victory for Vance. And I agree. Good night for Vance. Look, Vance is a very polished communicator. It's sort of, I got to say, really nice to watch somebody who really can handle themselves in a situation like that. He came across as strong and confident, but not cocky, self-assured, and seemed to be just come across as a very professional, buttoned-up individual. Tim Walz, on the other hand, many of the body language experts noted this, seemed jittery and nervous and looked like a deer in the headlights at time, just was all over the place, not near as an effective a communicator. And he had one really devastating moment. And he had to know this was coming. As we told you yesterday during the show from down in Murfreesboro, there was a story that had just come out that said, and by the way, this reported by a left-leaning news organization, Minnesota Public Radio. Doesn't get any more left than that. They reported that, many times over the course of his political career, Tim Walz has talked about how he was in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square riots. Turns out he wasn't. Not even close. And they know that because they found newspaper articles of him in Nebraska at the time he claimed that he was in Hong Kong. The Tiananmen Square riots took place in Beijing, but all of China and Hong Kong were impacted by that, by the big Chinese crackdown, but he wasn't there, not at all. And last night, unbelievably, Margaret Brennan had I would say the gall, and I have to give her credit for this, to ask the question that was on everybody's mind: is it why did you tell a big fib about this? Can you explain yourself?
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400.
I'm from the middle class America. See, he's doing that thing that Kamala does every time she get asked, going, well, I'm from the middle class. I grew up in humble beginnings. And he goes on forever talking about his bio and where he came from and how he came to be the person he is today. Never answers the question.
Town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers.
Relevance, Your Honor?
And we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critique.
But he wasn't there.
Of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said.
Awkward pause. You can almost, hear the cricket. Yeah, he continued.
So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Thank you, Governor.
She finally just put him out of his misery because he just had nothing more to say. Well, it was a bad moment for him. And I wish there had been an opportunity. And I've gone back and listened to the exchange. There really wasn't an opportunity for J.D. Vance to step in because they immediately asked him a hard question, which he batted away like a cat bats away a ball of yarn. It wasn't even, it was child's play for J.D. Vance. Ask him about why he'd said harsh things about Donald Trump in the past. He's been asked that question, asked and answered 1,000 times. He knew the answer, and he had a great answer. But, again, it would have been wonderful if there'd been this opportunity for J.D. Vance to say, well, so you told a big whopper. You tend to do that a lot. For example, you have lied a little bit about your military record. You've lied about this. You've lied about that. How will we know, Governor Vance, when you are telling Governor Waltz, when you're telling the truth? How will we know? That would have been just, icing on the cake. I wished it had happened, but it didn't happen. Waltz had another flub. He's talking about, grabbing guns and all that kind of stuff. Well, he says they're not going to grab guns, but come on, we know. And he says that he just said this.
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
He's become friends with school shooters.
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
So he has befriended people who tried to kill little children at school.
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
Well, I think it was a misstatement. What he was trying to say, but he didn't say it, was that he has become friends with school shooting victims, the parents of those left behind. So, again, everybody, when you're saying a lot of words, some of them come out wrong sometimes. So might give him that one, but it did come across as with a lot of criticism, people saying, what, you're friends of school shooters? How does that work? J.D. Vance, the great moment for him came when he fact-checked the fact-checkers. Now, CBS had said in advance of this that Norah O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan were not going to do any fact-checking, that they would leave it to the candidates to fact-check each other. But Margaret Brennan couldn't help herself. And one thing, when she felt like she had to clarify the record, and J.D. Vance was having none of it.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret,
we have so much to get to. They use that line a lot. Please, we have so much to get to.
I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the
debate,
economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to
we're...
fact check. And since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990.
And then they turned off the microphones.
It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process.
I really came away from this with a bad taste in my mouth about Margaret Brennan. I mean, Norah O'Donnell seemed to be, a lot easier to watch and to what I think she handled herself better. Margaret Brennan just came across as incredibly harsh and very partisan. But look, I'll tell you, I thought J.D. Vance, that was a great moment for him. He came on strong, and kudos to him for fact checking the fact checkers, which is something, by the way, they said they weren't going to do. Weren't going to do that at all. And then there was this moment I just wanted to throw up my hands and say, oh, no, not this again, when Tim Walz mentioned Project 2025. When will this thing ever die? Democrats, they never open them. They never get on front of a camera. They never open up a microphone without talking about Project 2025, Project 2025. Let me tell you something. Project 2025 is a thing that was come up by the Heritage Foundation, which is a think tank. Now, if you don't know, Washington has think tanks. They have liberal, they have conservative, they even have one, the Cato Institute, that's really, libertarian think tank. And I know a lot of those people that work at that think tanks when I was in Washington, and they come up with interesting ideas. They're a great source. If you're doing a story, you want to get somebody's opinion about something, you go to the people at the think tanks. That's largely what they do. They just sit around and think all day. They throw up ideas and they debate them. Sometimes they put up big reports like Project 2025, and they throw it out there and they say, well, let's see if any of this sticks. We'll fly this up the flagpole and see if anybody salutes it. A lot of times it gets ignored. And that's what has happened largely with Project 2025. But Tim Walz brings it up again when talking about the issue of, I think it's abortion.
Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry of pregnancies. It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get contraception and limit access, if not eliminate access to infertility treatments.
What a bunch of hooey.
For so many of you out there listening, me included, infertility treatments are why I have a child. That's nobody else's business, but those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is, well, the states will decide what's right for Texas might not be right for Washington. That's not how this works. This is basic human right.
Basic human rights? Did he forget about the basic human rights of the unborn child? A wonderful opportunity missed there. Look, all things considered, a great debate for J.D. Vance. It was not a particularly stellar performance by Tim Walz. He didn't do himself a lot of harm, but the harm that was done, it stung a little bit. Grand scheme of things, I don't think vice presidential debates move the needle very much. I don't think if you were a supporter of Donald Trump, anything happened here that changed your mind. If you're a supporter of Kamala Harris, I don't think there's anything that changed your mind. And if you're one of those few people out there who haven't made up your mind how you're going to vote, I don't think anything was particularly persuasive one way or the other. But it was part of the process, and at times pretty entertaining. 21 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Say, if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltzko are two guys you need to talk to. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. They can build a new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind, and that is the Stoltzko difference. Now, a question for you. Do you own some land? Are you doing anything with it? Why not invest in that land by building maybe a barn dominium or a pole barn or a garage? Or how about an equestrian space if you're part of the horsey people crowd? What about an event space that can be used by others and you can maybe rent it out? Or maybe just, develop a piece of property so it's a nice place for you to go on the weekends. One way or the other, here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Just go to their website, stoltzco.com. That's STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com. Take a look at what they do for other people, and then you're going to get some great ideas. Then give them a call, 615-622-5992. By the way, couple of guys, you're really going to like them when you meet them. They're great people, and they'll be a pleasure to work with. Learn more by going to their website, stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Police respond to a call about an unwanted guest and a new filing in the January 6th case against former President Trump. These stories are more 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Listen, coming up in just a few minutes, we will have the ever-popular Three Amigos. Let me tell you a story that is breaking out here. This is done by the Daily Mail. And this is a story that they've been reporting for some time now, looking into the background of Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, the second gentleman. The second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, age 59, allegedly struck a woman he was dating back in May of 2012 at the Cannes Film Festival in France. One of her friends told the DailyMail.com that the woman called him immediately after the incident, sobbing in her cab, and described the alleged assault. Now, the Daily Mail is not naming the woman, who is a successful New York attorney, but will refer to her by the pseudonym Jane. A second friend said Jane, who had been dating Emhoff at the time for 3 months, also told her about the alleged violence at the time. The third friend told the Daily Mail that Jane first told her in 2014 that she had dated Emhoff and recounted the full story of his alleged abuse in 2018, when then Senator Harris was in the news after grilling Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in a Senate hearing over sexual assault allegations. All of these folks asked not to be named for fear of retaliation. But they did have pictures of him and Jane together from 2012 and other documents and communications that corroborate elements of the story. Jane was contacted and declined to talk. According to the allegation, Doug Emhoff forcefully slapped his ex-girlfriend, flirting with another man in a booze-fueled assault after date to a star-studded gala there, as I mentioned, in the Cannes Film Festival. Apparently, it was quite the thing. And again, you have all of these corroborating elements to the story. You know, this comes at a time when Emhoff has been described as a wife guy, a mensch. And then there was this fawning interview with Jen Psaki just this past Sunday.
Something that has also been an important part or an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny, I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this, and to me, it's the right thing to do. You know, support women. It's mutual. Like with Kamala and I, we support each other. We have each other's back. And I've said many times, when we lift up women, we support women, whether it's pay equity, child care, family leave, and all these issues that, this post-Dobbs hellscape, women should not be less than. Women should not have less rights and be treated differently. That's not the American way. And it's also not like, if some woman succeeds, some dude out there is suffering. It's not a one-to-one relationship. When we lift up women, we lift up families, we lift up the economy. And when I was in the business world, it lifted up the organizations that I was in. It certainly lifted up the White House when you were there, with you there and Kamala as vice president. It was a great workplace there.
Well, there you go. One wonders if Jane feels like she was lifted up. One of Jane's friend, a top New York businessman, said he was at home getting ready for bed that night when he got an unexpected call from her. It was hard to hear her because she was sobbing. She told me she was with a guy and he hit her. It was very clear what she was telling me. She said she was with a guy, her date, at the Cannes Film Festival, and he hit her. She was in the car with the guy at the time. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to call the French police. I couldn't get a hold of her after calling back. He said he had a vivid memory of the troubling conversation from some 12 years ago. Now, Doug Emhoff has also been accused of impregnating the nanny from a previous marriage. So, stories floating around, and it seems to be pretty well locked down by the folks at the Daily Mail. But quite an interesting little development into a second husband who could become the first gentleman of the United States, potentially, and his history of impregnating nannies, allegedly, and then apparently assaulting his girlfriend, identified only at this time as Jane. 31 past the hour.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Still monitoring a situation in Clarksville where police answered a call around 1:16 today about an unwanted guest. This was in a hotel room on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard, the Country Inn and Suites, where police say they responded and a man barricaded himself. Police evacuated the adjacent rooms, then negotiators went to work to try to communicate with the suspect. Right now in Tennessee, the death toll stands at 8 across the easternmost counties impacted by Hurricane Helene. The relief efforts still evolving, with Governor Lee saying this morning his entire cabinet met and then emerged in complete agreement.
This is a survivor-centric effort that we are making.
Bristol Motor Speedway now allowing TEMA to use it as a donation center. It will take in donations, then disperse them to a central donation center in each one of the counties impacted. And as for those 11 workers at Impact Plastics in Unicoi County who have either died or are missing, TBI is investigating after at least one employee says they were not able to leave work in time to get to safety. And right now in our nation's capital, Stephen Portnoy reports on a new filing by prosecutors in the federal January 6th case in the effort to convince Judge Tanya Chutkan that former President Donald Trump does not deserve to be covered by presidential immunity.
The 165-page filing is an effort by prosecutors to keep the January 6th case against Trump alive by casting what he did in the lead-up to the riot as the private actions of a man willing to commit multiple crimes to stay in office. The filing details evidence, including one campaign advisor's testimony that Trump intended to declare himself the winner even before all the votes were counted. Another advisor testified that Trump told family members, "It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election, you still have to fight like hell."
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, 440 westbound, the left lane is blocked due to a crash right after West End. And then on 40 westbound at 2nd Avenue, a crash is blocking the right lane. Another crash, Lebanon Pike, just east of Central Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let me tell you about the folks at D.T. McCall and Sons, who've been around for more than a century in this area. More than 100 years. And that's as a family-owned business. A pretty rare thing, actually. They started with one location. Now they have 5, one of them no doubt very near you. Here's the thing I love about it. They're going to treat you honestly, and they're going to treat you fairly, and they're going to give you a good price. You go in, you say, hey, how much for that sofa? They're going to give you a price, and then that's the price. That's the honest price. They're not going to play any games with you like the big box stores do. They're not going to charge you extra for delivery or setup or haul away. And, the big box stores, I mean, honestly, you don't want to play that game. They give you, like a low ball, and then they jack it up with extra charges. And whenever possible, D.T. McCall sells products that are made and manufactured in Middle Tennessee. Let me ask you just a basic question. Which would you rather do? Would you rather buy something from a company that has its headquarters in Delaware? Or would you rather, do business with a company that, quite frankly, does business with other companies in Tennessee and keep your dollars local? Of course, you know the answer to that one. So if you need furniture, you need appliances, you need a big screen TV, whatever is it that you need for your home, you're going to find it at one of their 5 convenient locations and learn more about where they are. There's one near you by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
My favorite part of the show. It's time where the three amigos gather. If you don't know, the three amigos are Ken Weaver in the newsroom. Hello, Ken.
Good afternoon, boys. Yes.
And there is Chris Weber in the control room.
Buenos tardes.
Buenos tardes. And I am Brian Wilson, and together we make up the three amigos. And, the whole idea here is you never know what's going to happen on the three amigos. It's freeform radio, must-listen radio. And here's the thing. We come with a story or a story idea or just something we want to talk about, and then you never know, it could go off the rails.
Yeah.
And it usually does.
And it generally does, and that's the charm of the segment, as they say. I'm going to start today, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Brother Brian.
Because it's really not, a cute or funny story. It's just like, I don't understand people sometimes. So the word I'm hearing from a lot of people is that they are scared to death that they're not going to be able to have paper towels or toilet paper.
Here we go.
Because of the dock strike.
Yeah.
And so, if you go to the grocery store right now, you may find it hard to find toilet paper because there's been a run on toilet paper. There's been a run on paper towels, and everybody is all consumed about this, and they're hoarding it, and they're stocking it up, and they're putting it in their pantry. They don't want to run short of toilet paper, and so, it's hard to find toilet paper right now. There's just one problem with that concern. 90% of the toilet paper used in America is made in America. It doesn't come in from other countries.
So by worrying that they're worried about being a shortage, they go out and cause a shortage.
That's right.
Basically what's
Exactly. Let me just tell you. The Clearwater Paper Company has a large plant in Lewiston, Idaho. They don't have to import toilet paper from other countries. The Scott Paper Company has a big mill in Chester, PA, where 600 employees produce 2 million rolls of toilet paper a day.
A lot of teepee.
I remember that in Mobile, when I worked in Mobile as a young reporter, you always, sometimes the wind blowing the right direction, you could smell the paper plant.
Yeah, it's not
and
a good smell.
It's not a pleasant smell. But Mobile, they have Chester, PA, Mobile, Alabama, Beach Island, South Carolina, Jinx, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Most of the Scott toilet paper is made in the United States, but some is made in Canada or Mexico. Again, they don't need to come in on boats.
No port required.
No port required. Procter & Gamble has plants in 31 cities in the United States, including Phoenix, Arizona. And Procter & Gamble is one of the leading manufacturers of toilet paper in the whole U.S. Georgia Pacific is one of the leading manufacturers of toilet paper in the United States. Kimberly-Clark, one of the leading manufacturers of toilet paper in the United States. And I asked the question, and I got the answer. What is the percentage of toilet paper made in the USA? 90% made in the United States, and probably the other 10% comes from Mexico or Canada. So, folks, the dock strike, you're probably not going to, get some things pretty soon. You're going to find some things missing in the grocery store, but toilet paper and paper towels will not be among them.
So stop hoarding.
Quit being silly.
That just
you don't need to stock up on toilet paper.
That just brought back bad memories, man. Images of people running with grocery carts in the stores.
Ridiculously.
During the pandemic.
Yeah.
Now, that was a different thing because that did impact the plants around the country. That was worldwide, and it certainly was a problem in America, and that was real.
But again, made worse by people that were panicking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really was. But don't worry. Again, the dock strike is for things that are imported. And we don't import toilet paper or paper towels, by the way.
Bath tissue will not be wiped out.
So clean up your act.
Yeah. So there you go. Just thought I would get that out there.
Way to go, Brother Brian.
Well, I keep hearing we had to go to the grocery store today because we were afraid we're not going to have any toilet paper. It is bad when you run out of toilet paper.
Yeah, it's
not good.
It's no party.
That's no party. All right.
Not a party I want to be involved with.
So, just tell all your friends that, they don't need to worry. The dock strike will not have an impact on that. You may not be able to get bananas before long or some fruits and vegetables that come in from other countries, but toilet paper is not your major concern.
What about sriracha sauce? I think that's local. I think that's California, actually.
I don't know. But Tabasco sauce is made in Louisiana, so.
We're safe then.
Yeah.
Now, we will need the toilet paper.
With the... That's true. With the interstate issues that we've got over in eastern Tennessee and North Carolina, we may see some shortages on stuff just that takes longer than normal to get to certain retailers because they're having to go around this big out.
That's true.
I-40, that's
closed.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
But that shouldn't be. That's just a temporary delay sort of.
I don't think we got much of a thing to worry about. All right, that's all I got.
Who's next? Me?
I got something, but you go ahead, Brother Chris.
All right, I'll go. This one comes from Miami Beach, Florida, a couple weeks ago.
All right.
A gentleman named Julio Solano went out for breakfast one morning, and he drives a pretty nice car, a flashy Corvette, one of those new ones, I think it is, the mid-engine variety. Parks in a parking garage, goes and eats his breakfast at a local restaurant. He comes back from breakfast, returns to the parking garage on Washington Avenue and 16th Street there in Miami Beach. And, he's greeted by a gentleman that is sitting in the driver's seat of his new fancy Corvette. And Julio says, "My brother, this is not your car. This is my car."
My brother.
To which the 33-year-old would-be burglar says, "Can I get out?" While he's being recorded by Solano, who starts, obviously whips out his camera. He says, "No, you can't get out. We're calling the cops."
You stay put.
So he proceeds to call the cops. Police arrive on scene and arrest this would-be burglar, who I cannot pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try. But Julio Solano, the owner of the vehicle, believes that While the gentleman was able to break into the car, he was not able to start it or escape due to the vehicle's security system.
It locked him inside.
He says the car's electrical components don't function without the keys, and fortunately, he didn't know about the manual door release that's located up under the seat.
Yeah.
So he was easily taken into custody and put into the correctional center there with a $2,500 bond, charged with burglary of an unoccupied conveyance.
Where there is no key under the cot.
He says, "My brother, this is not your car. This is my car."
Well, I'm actually, I think I saw that video. I think
the guy's just sitting there. He's sitting in the driver's seat.
And he's in the driver's seat, and they said, "No, you're going to stay right there. I've called the police."
You just got to sit and wait to get arrested.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What a helpless feeling if he can't run away in the car or get out of the car to run away.
Can't start the car, can't do anything. You just sit there and wait.
That's what you get.
My brother, you are screwed.
Can I get out?
Oh, man.
All right, what you got, Ken?
All right, well, I ran across something from Boston University, which conducted BU, which conducted a centenarian study to try to explain how and why some people live to 100 years old. And some of the takeaways are what you would probably expect. Actually, you wouldn't expect this. I didn't know this, that 1 in every 5,000 of us here in the U.S. is 100 or more years old. About 85% of them are women. Now, this study claims to show centenarians age slowly, delaying age-related diseases to much later in life. Now, it says we can do 4 things, boys, to increase our chances of living longer.
Bacon, whiskey. What else? I don't know.
Those are the things you don't want. Yeah.
That's once you get to heaven.
Oh.
That's after. Yeah. So it says I'm gonna start with number 4. Exercise regularly.
Well, that's out.
So much for that.
Yeah, I'm screwed.
Number 3, don't smoke. I did that for about...
Listen, I'm telling you, I believe in that.
I did that for about 20 years. That's probably going to come up to bite me one of these days. Number 2 is eat right. And I don't like this. Keep meat consumption to a minimum. I don't like that. The number 1 way is to manage stress. And boys, that brought me back to a previous story here on the Gang of 3, or rather on the 3 Amigos. Remember whenever we talked about self-compassionate touch?
No, stop it.
Yeah, that's the key right there.
It's a great way to reduce stress.
I'm telling you, but I'll tell you, stress stress can really cause a lot of health problems.
It's the number 1. It's the killer.
Do you know when I had my bad bout of shingles, I went to the doctor and they said, "Have you been under any stress?" And I did not know it, but apparently shingles is apparently triggered by some kind of stressful event in your life. And as it turns out, there had been a stressful event in my life. I won't go into details, but there had been.
Yeah. And not to mention that then shingles are stressful.
Yeah, and then you get the shingles, and it's really stressful. Yeah. So I believe that. I mean, when you are stressed out, your body defenses break down.
Yes,
I'm telling you, the most important thing to good health is to have a healthy attitude. And to let things go, let it go like that song.
Exactly.
And don't harbor bitterness. And I mean, I really believe that I just read this story, and I was going to actually talk about it later, but I'll talk about it now. Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz of the American Pickers. Frank Fritz died the other day, and it's I think generally known that Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz had a falling out.
Yeah.
And they didn't speak to each other for a long time. But at the end, they buried the hatchet. They renewed their friendship. And in fact, Mike Wolfe was present as Frank Fritz passed away the other day. Apparently he'd been ill for some time, had a stroke and some other complications to his health. But I mean, boy, life's too short to harbor that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
totally. As I get older, the one thing I realize is, boy, don't harbor bitterness. Don't let things drag on. It's just too short, If you have to admit, to somebody that, you were wrong, admit you were wrong and move on. Because, the positive attitude is what keeps you really healthy, I think.
Yeah.
And the moment you start stressing out about things and become an embittered individual, I think that's when things start to go south.
And don't worry about toilet paper. There's plenty of it.
He brought it full circle. That's brilliant, Ken. Thank you.
Wipe the slate clean.
Well, let's flush this toilet down the. Let's flush this segment down the toilet. 51 past the hour. Let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve health goals. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County, as you know. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at this number, 615-470-8124, or just visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, when you get there, you're going to run into my friends Carly and Jamie. They will take great care of you like you're part of the family. You can be part of the more than 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. And I am one of them. And again, got on the scale today, down another 2 pounds. Gain your confidence back, because weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, and enhance your overall health. Customized treatment plans are available. They will ask you about your needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. So if your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Learn about the newest techniques in weight loss management. Just go to the website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
You know, if you want an engagement ring that she'll be proud to wear, there's just one place to go. Just one. Genesis Diamonds. Genesis has cornered the market on all the world-class designers. The New York and Los Angeles-based designers are the best and the best, and every store wants them, but very few make the cut. Well, Genesis made the cut and has all the luxury brands that women are asking for. So don't settle. Get her the ring of your dreams at Genesis, and don't think you'll pay more. Genesis has complete ready-to-wear designer rings as low as $1,900, and of course, no jeweler can beat the price of Genesis diamonds. So whether you want natural diamonds or lab-grown diamonds, Genesis has the guarantees, the best prices, and the highest quality. Only Genesis can give you a 120% diamond upgrade guarantee plus free service for the rest of the life of the ring. Also, there's no commission salespeople, no pressure ever. Nobody delivers for you like Genesis when it comes to quality, value, selection, and warranties or customer care. Get the deal you deserve for your diamond, Genesis Diamonds, and now with an expanded selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches, all the hard-to-find models. Check them out. Genesis Diamonds, 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Big police presence in Clarksville today where a suspect reportedly barricaded himself inside a hotel room. This is at the Country Inn and Suites on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. A perimeter was established around the hotel there on the 3000 block. This all started around 1:16 this afternoon when police say they got a call regarding an unwanted guest in one of the rooms. That person apparently barricaded themselves inside the room. Crisis negotiators then went to work trying to speak with him after the rooms next door had been evacuated. And right now in Tennessee, survivors of Hurricane Helene's flood will be able to get federal help faster. President Biden just approved Governor Lee's request for major disaster declaration. TEMA Director Patrick Sheehan explained this morning what that puts into motion.
Tennesseans can start registering for aid, and we'll set up centers, as the governor talked about, multi-agency response centers, resource centers. We'll set those up with FEMA partners as well, so people that don't have telephone service or access to the internet can register in person and have someone help shepherd them through what they might be eligible for.
Meanwhile, the death toll stands at least 8 across some of the easternmost counties impacted. Search and rescues continue for the missing. Well, it's day 2 of a port strike along the eastern seaboard and Gulf Coast, and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg told ABC News that White House officials are talking to both sides to try to iron out a deal before any potential effects on consumers.
There's nothing that's going to change for you at the grocery store tomorrow because of a 1 or 2 or 3 day disruption. But the longer this goes on, the more you're going to see those ripple effects, which is why we're really urging the parties to solve this.
Election 2024. Stephen Portnoy says the vice presidential candidates hit the campaign trail after their debate last night.
In Auburn Hills, Michigan, J.D. Vance said he thought the debate went pretty well. Vance said he feels bad for Tim Walz.
And the reason I feel bad for him is because he has to defend the indefensible, and that is the record of Kamala Harris.
Earlier, the Harris campaign released an ad highlighting this moment in the debate in which Walz asked his opponent about Donald Trump.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
Walz called Vance's response a damning non-answer.
And right now in Louisiana, Governor Jeff Landry has thrown his support behind the revival of Louisiana State University's live tiger mascot at home football games. Here's Dave Packer.
Calling it an unbelievable opportunity, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry confirming his backing for LSU to bring back its iconic Bengal tiger mascot, a tradition that's been dormant for nearly a decade. The proposal facing fierce opposition from People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. PETA urging the governor to reconsider, arguing that bringing a wild animal into a chaotic stadium environment is both cruel and dangerous. Landry responding, saying everyone anxious about this needs to, quote, calm down.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, northbound 65, the brake tap-in starts happening right around Harding Place if you're trying to get to downtown Nashville. If you're trying to get out of downtown Nashville, it is really slow going on the eastbound East Loop, and then 40 eastbound over to 24. That is not clearing up until you get past Briley Parkway there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is 8 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on this Wednesday, October 2nd. I'm Brian Wilson in the chair until 7 o'clock, and then we hand it over to the Mark Levin Show, and they will carry on throughout the rest of the evening. And we love having you listening in the 6 o'clock hour. We got a lot of things happening. Some stuff you haven't heard before, some stuff that we need to sort of catch up on, such as the recovery efforts in, East Tennessee, in North Carolina, and South Carolina, in Georgia. And I'm telling you, the death toll continues to go up. Last time I saw a number, it was 177, but that number will go up. Hundreds of people are not accounted for. Now, that may be because they don't have good communications. Throughout the entire region, they do not have reliable cell phone communications. Electricity is still out in a huge way. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there's a satellite photo taken of the United States at night that shows, you can tell exactly where the hurricane went, because there is a swath throughout the southeast. That starts down in Florida Panhandle and goes all the way up into North Carolina and eastern Tennessee, where there just aren't any lights at night. And it's because there's no electricity. So, it has really wiped out the grid. It's going to take weeks and weeks for this grid to get back up where it needs to be. And maybe months. It's going to be that long. So there's that. Unbelievably, we still have people in the region who are saying that the number one need they have is drinking water. Apparently it's just really hard to get in and out. There's so many bridges have been washed out, and it's really hard to get what you need there. Generally, I know, having covered these things before, one of the things that happens is one of the brewing companies, I want to say it's Budweiser, but they will basically turn off their plant for a day and make not beer, but canned water. And then they put it on a truck and they rush it down there. They do this all the time. I've seen it time and time and time again. You get there and there's a big beer truck, but they're handing out cases and cases of good drinking water that they can put out there. You know that the things, big grocery store companies and everywhere, they're doing their best to get it in there, but apparently it's still a real problem. Now we're 6-7 days in here now. And we, and I guess this is bad. Let's see. So it's Friday. So Saturday be 1, Sunday 2, Monday 3, Tuesday 4. So we're 5 days in to the real damage being done. And you still haven't gotten water. Folks, a lot of people apparently didn't know, to fill up their bathtub with water. And so they don't have drinking water, and they didn't plan. And it's not just people, it's animals. I saw a posting saying, we don't have water for our horses. We're about to run out of water for the water when the water trough is gone. So isn't it interesting? It's a bit ironic, really, that in an incident where water has caused the problem, there is no water to drink. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink, is the old saying, and that's the way it is. And so, the government response has not been that good. I've always said, if you are about to get hit by some kind of natural disaster, and then sometimes they're coming, sometimes you don't. But one way or the other, I think the people in North Carolina were probably a little surprised that they became involved in this thing in such a big way when it was basically expected to be just a rainstorm by the time it got to them. But, when you get 31 inches of rain in a very short period of time, you're going to have problems. In eastern Tennessee, 9 dead, 23 still missing. And some of those that are missing came from a plastics factory called Impact Plastics in Unicoi County. There is a tragic story developing there. The people who worked in that plant say the plant, you need to understand, is right next to the river. And so they had a flash flood warning that went out, and they said, should we go home? And they said, no, don't go home. Water's coming up over the banks of the river and into the parking lot. Hey, go move your cars, but you can't go home. And finally, when it got really, really bad and they finally said, yeah, go home, it was too late. Some people got washed away as they were trying to get out of the factory parking lot. And it's a tragic story. This is a version of the story being told by WVLT TV. They went there and talked to people who were actually hanging on for dear life and got swept away, but somehow they were able to recover while others were not.
The road to the plastics plant is closed, but we did talk to an employee who says he was swept away by the floodwaters. He was able to make it to the top of a semi-truck to get to higher ground. He believes, though, that this all could have been prevented if the company acted sooner. This was the moment Jacob Ingram was rescued by a helicopter, waiting as others were hoisted up.
The only 5 of us made it.
He says he was with co-workers from Impact Plastics Friday. They'd been at the factory that day when Hurricane Helene floodwaters came through.
I actually asked one of the higher-ups, and they told me no, not yet, that they had to ask someone before we was able to leave, even though it was already above the doors and the cars and everything else.
At least 2 employees were killed. Another 6 and a contractor are still missing, according to Impact Plastics.
So the company had released a statement saying that employees were dismissed when water covered the parking lot and adjacent road and the plant lost power.
No, the plant lost power, and we were still told not to go home or nothing. We were still there for about 15 to 20 minutes after the plant lost power.
Ingram believes those 20 minutes could have saved lives. Impact Plastics says most employees left immediately, but some remained on or near the premises for unknown reasons.
So you're saying you're one of the last people that saw them?
She smiled right at me.
The owner of a nearby manufacturing facility
been rescuing people, man. They've all come down here.
Went to Impact Plastics to help get more workers out after he'd already sent his home.
I was there yelling at them to come. She was talking to her boss.
Have you heard anything from the company, from management since?
No, I haven't heard a thing. They have not reached out, none of us survivors, to make sure we're okay, nothing.
The company says it's organizing a recovery center for employees. In the meantime, Ingram and others who've lost jobs stood in line at Irwin Town Hall Tuesday to get help with unemployment. Impact Plastics says that senior management was the last to leave the factory and that they sought emergency responders to help those left behind. Casey?
Wow, what a tragic story this is. And some of the stories of the last moments of they went to the parking lot. They couldn't get to their car. They ended up being on top of their car because the waters were rising. And then somehow they ended up clinging to a big semi-flatbed truck that had a load of plastic piping on it. And that was that they were calling, we need help. And they said, we're doing the best we can. During this time, the Unicoi Hospital was completely swamped with water. And they were really trying to solve that problem. They lost fire trucks. They lost ambulances. The first responders had their hands full, so much more need than they could provide in this relatively rural area. And so they couldn't get to these people. And 6 people washed away. Some of them, were able to, find something to cling on to, a tree or something, and eventually were rescued. But, a lot of others are not going to be found. In fact, some of them have been found and identified, and family members are talking about how they had last-minute conversations. They were on the cell phone with these people just before they died. And there were a lot of people who said, please tell my family that I love them. They obviously believe they may not survive this. What a tragic thing to happen. And I just want to say, folks, I know it's difficult when you are a dedicated employee and you need a job. And many of these people weren't setting the world on fire, but they needed that job to put food on their table and a roof over their head and to put clothes on the back and buy shoes for the kids. And, they were desperately in need of that job. And when the people at the plant said, I'm sorry, no, you can't go, they were reluctant to go. Folks, if you ever find yourself in a situation like that, you might lose your job, but chances are you won't. Better to lose your job than to lose your life, right? That's the way I look at it. No job is worth dying for. So I would say to you that, this is going to be investigated by TBI to see if there are any charges that need to be brought in this particular case. Don't want to make any premature judgments, but I would say this company has got some real problems on their hand because these people have no reason to lie. They're telling the story. They're grief-stricken, and they nearly lost their lives, those that have survived, and a great number of people did not. So, again, that's going to be a story to watch in the next few days, and I can understand the grief and I can understand the anger with that situation. That being said, some communications are now going into the area. Thank goodness for Elon Musk and Starlink. Now, the Biden administration didn't really like Starlink, but I'm telling you, when communications go down and the cell phone towers aren't working, it's nice to know that you can get internet by satellite. And by the way, the Starlink system is, I will tell you, very robust and quite fast. So we are starting to see some Starlink systems go into that area. And as a result of that, the communications are getting a little better. 20 minutes now past the hour. Gold is up. It's like at all-time highs, and silver is up very high as well. Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. Government-induced inflation is stealing your wealth, and it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plans to stop. Gold and other precious metals are a great shield against that inflation theft. It's an election year, and the politicians will promise a lot of things. But they will never be able to rein in their spending. At least they haven't been so far. That's why no matter who's in office, gold protects you from the D.C. spending sprees. And where do you go to get that protection? You want to reach out to my friends Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Gold & Coin. They will take good care of you, keep you well informed on all precious metal opportunities. So act now to get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com and set up your appointment today.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
We have an update on that unwanted guest that prompted a big police response today in Middle Tennessee. We've been monitoring. That's coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I got a question for you guys. Let me just ask you this. If you could take a simple test that could accurately predict how long you would live, would you be interested in taking that test?
No.
No, you don't want to know.
No.
Yeah, I mean, because if it was short, that would really freak me out.
Yeah. Well, listen to this. You know how sometimes you see on the crime shows when they take a DNA sample, basically they just take a Q-tip and they stick it into your mouth and they swab your cheek or the back of your throat. A quick swab of your cheek might one day reveal how long you have left to live.
Oh, no.
Researchers have discovered that a DNA test originally designed to measure biological aging from cells inside the cheek can accurately predict mortality risk even when applied to blood samples. The findings suggest that the common biological markers of aging exist across different tissues of the body, potentially opening up new avenues for assessing health risk and developing anti-aging interventions. But they say that they have reason to believe now. This is all part of the artificial intelligence boom that we're going through.
Right.
You remember when we had the internet boom and we had the internet economy and things got real big? And then, there's all kinds of things come along. And then the cell phone thing came along, and that changed our lives dramatically.
Yep.
These technological advances come in waves like that. Internet boom, and then the phones, the cell phone and communication boom. I think the next big boom that we're going to be going through is going to be through AI. AI, I'm waiting right now. I just updated my phone, and apparently sometime in the middle of the month, AI is going to be applied to my cell phone by the people at Apple. I'm not quite sure what all it will do, but it's supposed to happen middle of the month. Everything that we now are going through in the next sort of wave of technological advances is going to be AI related. AI is the next big thing. It really is. And, this is, I think, a pretty good example of how, here's an example. There's apparently a test that women can do that will extremely accurately predict whether you are, likely to have, ovarian or other forms of cancer. And they apply an AI analysis of the samples that they take. I don't have that story right in front of me, but I have read this, and it's apparently every single part of our life, and especially medical stuff, is all going to have an AI component. Because what they're finding is that, the combination of AI and a good doctor is pretty good. I mean, it apparently the AI can suggest things to the doctor, and the doctor can then, maybe had not thought about those things.
Yeah. Kind of speeds up the troubleshooting.
Yes, and that is, that's the hard thing is, why do I have these symptoms? People go to the Mayo Clinic, for example, if they have, symptoms that they can't figure out what they are, they don't know why they're having this particular problem, and they end up going to some place that's really good at diagnostic medicine, like the Mayo Clinic, because they have such a good reputation for it. But I mean, it's going to be very soon. The knowledge that those doctors have will be, given to AI technology, and then that kind of technology is going to be everywhere. It's going to be down at your dock in the box. Take a blood test eventually, and at the dock in the box, and they can tell you, an analysis of exactly what's wrong with you based on AI technology. So we're about to see a huge boom in this. I'm with you though. I don't if it's 20 years, you know what I would tell them? Yeah, take the test, but if it's bad news, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, there you go.
But then you'd be going, oh, why didn't I hear anything?
Well,
exactly.
They didn't get back to
Could
me.
be any day now.
I'm toast.
I saw something this morning where AI is now, and I think this might be what you're alluding to, Brian, coming on our phones. AI is gonna be your buddy. Yeah. It's gonna start asking you how your day is. And do you need to talk about it? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I listen. There were times when Windows was coming along, and they said we're connecting Windows in a big way to the internet. Mm-hmm. And everybody said, well, I don't know about that,
Yeah.
It turns out, once they did it, you said, oh, well, now I get it. Of course, your computer and the internet and everything's going to be all connected, and it all interacts, and it makes complete sense to us now. But back in the day, I remember saying, well, how's that going to work? I don't know if I want the internet connected to my computer or not. Yeah. I mean, these kinds of things come in waves. The next thing that is going to be like that is going to be AI. Mm-hmm. And artificial intelligence. I think there are amazing things that it can do.
Right.
And I think there are very scary things that it could do.
Yep.
And I think the real challenge as we go forward is trying to determine which is which.
I'm just glad my name's not John Connor.
All right, time for the news at 6:30.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And that police situation in Clarksville we've been covering this afternoon is over. News 2 says a suspect is in custody. This all started when police responded to a call just after 1 o'clock this afternoon about an unwanted guest in one of the rooms at the Country Inn and Suites on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Police say when they knocked on the door and announced their presence, someone shot through the door with a gun. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Police set up a perimeter, and by 5:45 this afternoon, crisis negotiators were able to convince 61-year-old Keith L. Smith of Clarksville to come out peacefully. He was taken to a hospital to get checked out before he's going to go to jail. Tennessee Hurricane Helene response update. President Biden has approved Governor Lee's request for a major disaster declaration, which frees up federal money for survivors to apply for. TEMA says it's going to work with FEMA to set up application centers in each county where FEMA personnel will be able to help people through the process. We're talking about each of those counties hard hit there in the easternmost part of the state. And in money news, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks level off after an up and down day on Wall Street. The Dow added 40 points. The Nasdaq gained 15. The S&P barely changed. Investors were encouraged by an ADP research report that found private sector employers sped up hiring in September. The Labor Department's September employment report comes out Friday. Oil prices rose again because of the Middle East tensions. Humana stock dropped 12% after the insurer's Medicare plan rating plummeted. The company is challenging the rating. Homeland Security says it'll ban the import of goods from a Chinese steel manufacturer and a maker of artificial sweetener over allegations of forced labor. Chrysler is recalling up to 154,000 vehicles because the high-voltage battery may fail, resulting in a fire. Drivers of certain Jeep plug-in hybrids are being advised not to recharge and to park outside.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. We've got crashes 40 eastbound at Briley Parkway. The left lane is blocked on 24 eastbound at Hickory Hollow Parkway. That's going to be exit 60, but that's not a crash. That's just police activity. Then we've got 65 northbound at Rosa Parks Boulevard, a crash, and 65 southbound at Trinity Lane, a crash. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let me tell you about Grace Point Healthcare, the affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine. They are known for their smart care plans, start at just $69 a month, includes free office visits and free basic labs and diagnostic tests. That's for a full year. At Grace Point, you're usually seen the same day or the next day, and there's no long wait times, or you don't have to be tapping your toe in the waiting room. Grace Point is your primary provider that treats the entire family from newborns to seniors. You know, when we get to a certain age, our hormones begin to fluctuate, taking a toll on our lifestyle. Grace Point provides comprehensive hormone treatment and treatment for both men and women. Grace Point is a military veteran-owned practice located in the heart of Franklin. Here's the number, 599-6868 to schedule your next medical appointment. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. So glad that you're with us here as we wrap things up. I'll be going all the way till the 7 o'clock, and then Mark Levin's show will take over. So about the debate last night. I've always admired Frank Luntz as a guy who they call him a pollster. I think he's really something quite different than that. Frank Luntz is a guy, and if you ever seen him, he's a bearded guy. He's been doing punditry for forever. But he really is a man who studies the use of effective language. Many times when you're trying to get something across to the American people, you go to someone like Frank Luntz and tell him, what language resonates with people? And to get the answer to that question, and this is used by companies that are selling a product or politicians that are selling themselves, find out, how you explain certain complex ideas and what language really resonates with people. You do a thing called a focus group. And you say, okay, what do you think? And sometimes you actually have these people connected to basically what is like a sort of a simplistic lie detector. They take a galvanic skin response and they see how you respond to certain language and certain ideas. And so they get an idea of what really resonates with people. It's really quite a brilliant thing that these folks do. And they are always looking how to communicate effectively. But in this particular case, he was doing a focus group about the vice presidential debate last night. And among his focus group, 12-2, they agreed that Vance won the debate. But I thought his comments were pretty interesting. Said, our participants had a lot to say. Number one, they liked both candidates. In fact, if they could, they would have reversed the ticket and put Vance and Waltz at the top and the other two on the bottom. They said that they liked the fact that you could have a conversation and sit down and agree in a civil way. I like that, too, about it. But in terms of Vance, they were shocked that the Vance that they had seen was not the J.D. Vance of last night. Measured, thoughtful, emotional, willing to agree with his opponents, not being divisive. They liked what they saw of him, and they said he won hands down. So some people thought that, and I think this is probably true, that Walz had a better moment or two toward the very end. But you know what? By that time, so many people had checked out. No, so many people were not listening. They were worn out by the thing. You got to understand that in any kind of debate situation, there are people who are rabidly interested and they will watch. But you know what? The people who are really like that, like you and me, our minds are pretty made up already. There's not likely to be anything that happens. So what about these people who care less about politics but still are going to have to cast a ballot in November? They get it from watching the clips on the news. And so the clips that are chosen are the ones that will probably stick with them. And in that regard, no doubt, J.D. Vance had the better moments. And the bad moments were on Tim Walz. So I feel like it was a pretty good debate for J.D. Vance. Not such a good debate for Tim Walz, especially where he was sort of caught telling a big fib, and he had no explanation for it. Democrats, I've been seeing this story for a while in other places, are seeing a sign of growing momentum in the Texas Senate race between Ted Cruz and Representative Colin Allred. And the Democrats, Cruz is favored to win, but apparently Allred's campaign has started to worry him somewhat. And I will say, Ted Cruz has been on TV a lot saying, I need you to send me money. I need you. Seriously, this is getting close. I think the Cook Political Report, which is really good at doing congressional races, shifted the race toward Democrats. It was likely Republican. Now it is lean Republican. And I've seen some polls that suggest that Cruz may lead Allred only by 3 points in Texas. Now, let me also say this. They said the same thing about Beto O'Rourke. And Beto O'Rourke washed out. I've seen time and time again where in the state of Texas say, oh, the Democrats, they're really going to do well this time, and they have all this polling, and then you know, the polling in Dallas, Houston, and Austin, you know, is going to be a lot more liberal than the rest of the state. The rest of the state is like 1,000% red. I mean, trust me, I know these people. I am of them. And I stay in touch with my friends, and I watch Texas politics pretty closely. I don't think Ted Cruz is in trouble, but I just say Democrats are making a bunch of noise like they may have something going here. I've heard this argument before. We'll see as we go down the pike. But Cruz is, I mean, he looks a little panicked. Emerson College Hill survey found Cruz up by 4 points. Texas Hispanic Policy Foundation put the incumbent up by 3 points. Morning Consult had Cruz up by 5. And then there's one out there that has all red up by 1. I don't believe that at all. But one way or the other is one to watch. I mean, if Ted Cruz loses in Texas to a Democrat, I'll be shocked. But he seems to be a little worried. Then I love this story. Country star Morgan Wallen, who's had more than his trouble of public relations issues, what with, you know, using the N-word and then throwing chairs off the top of a bar in downtown Nashville. But he's trying to make amends in any way that he can. He's sending $500,000 to the American Red Cross to help out with what's going on with this flood recovery. So there you go. You know, good on you. That's a hefty donation, and the Red Cross is very honored and pleased to have it, believe me. If you are thinking about doing something, I mean, a lot of people say, well, I'll take a bunch of food down to a truck and they'll truck it in, and that's good and fine. I mean, that's a good thing to do. I'll be honest with you, a cash donation to the Red Cross or the Salvation Army goes a long way. Some people have, you know, real problems with that. And all I'm going to say to you as somebody who has been sent into these disaster zones as a reporter to cover things, the one thing that I always saw every time, no matter how good reporters are about getting to the scene of a crisis, and we're pretty good at it. We were really good. Logistically, we knew how to do that. I always, when I got there, the Red Cross had already been there for a while. And same true of the Salvation Army. They were always there helping people out with the thing that they really need right now: food, water, sustenance. And sometimes the best thing that you can do if you're in a position to do so is to just, you know, call them up and make a donation by a credit card or your debit card. It goes a long way. It really does. And, you know, it can be, they have the logistics to do things that others don't. They're very practiced in it. And I would say to you, not a bad way to invest if you feel so led to do so. Finally, from the Associated Press, this is a shock. You know, where was I in 1977? Now, Chris, I won't ask you that question because I know you weren't even a gleam in your daddy's eye at that time.
Nope.
But in 1977, I was 3 years out of high school, and I think I just started my first television job. So I was probably in Amarillo, Texas. The reason I asked that was that Voyager 2 was launched in 1977. And Voyager 2 has made its way through our solar system and is now the only man-made object to ever leave our particular solar system and into the vastness of space. And it's still working. Can you believe that?
That's just amazing.
Yeah. The space agency said on Tuesday that Voyager 2's plasma science instrument, which is designed to measure the flow of charged atoms, was powered down late last month so that the spacecraft can keep exploring for as long as possible, perhaps into the 2030s.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, they turned off the suite of instruments and its twin Voyager 1 as they explored the gas giant planets of the 1980s. Both were currently in interstellar space. That's the space between stars. The plasma instrument on Voyager 1 stopped working long ago and was finally shut down in 2007. 4 remaining instruments on Voyager 2 will continue to collect information about magnetic fields and particles. Its goal is to study the swaths of space beyond the sun's protective bubble. Launched in 1977, Voyager 2 is the only spacecraft that came from Earth to visit Uranus, or as it's sometimes called, Uranus, and Neptune. It is currently more than 12 billion miles from Earth. Voyager 1 is 15 billion miles from Earth at this point, and they're still sending data back to Earth. And I mean, I don't know how that's even possible. How do you, if you're 15 billion miles away, I mean, I don't know how to calculate how long it would take, but I think it's days from the time it transmits data till it being received on Earth. But I mean, how in the world could you pinpoint something and get communication from it that's 15 billion miles from Earth?
It makes no sense at all to me.
It doesn't. I mean, the vastness of space, and again, you want to know. We talk about stellar travel to other planets and other solar systems. There's no way, given the current technology and the speeds, and these things are traveling fast, but not fast enough, not to overcome the vastness of space. It really is something. Great story. Very quickly, while the time's running down, there's a record on Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 of sounds from Earth and music from Earth.
Yep.
And a bunch of details. So if it's ever encountered by alien technology, and the old, they put things on there. They put like Beethoven symphonies, and there's even Chuck Berry.
Yep.
Some Chuck Berry tunes are on there to talk about rock and roll, and they talked about what Earth was like, and the sounds of birds and all these other things. Well, the joke goes that Voyager 1 was intercepted by aliens, and they sent back a message.
Yeah.
Please send more Chuck Berry. But I'm telling you, really quite amazing that something that came from this Earth in 1977 is still out there providing good, reliable scientific data, and that we are still able to receive it and probably will be up until the year 2030.
And we have to replace our computers every 2 or 3 years.
That's right.
I don't get it.
50 minutes now past the hour. Eurofix has a very different business model and philosophy. They staff all their locations with more staff than the average auto repair shop. That's so they'll be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Have you ever noticed how hard it can be to get a right-now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers say, well, we can get to you in a couple of weeks. That's just to get the initial appointment. But not at Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, why don't you call Eurofix? Owner Aaron Stokes says, we will never be too busy for our customers. We are here to take their pain away now. Eurofix repairs all European cars. Eurofix says yes to speedy repair when others can't or won't. Family owned for some 24 years. Just call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.